Justin Crain from the Crain and Woolley Estate Planning Law Firm with us tonight. And, like I said a minute ago, nobody wants to talk about dying. But as it turns out, if you don't have a plan, if you don't have your personal ducks in a row, your family, the people that mean the most to you, can really get hurt. So that's why Justin's with us here on the program. Justin, a number of things to talk about tonight. But first, losing a loved one is probably the most difficult thing we go through in life. And let's start with your thoughts on what we need to make sure we do after losing a loved one. And for many of us, it's a time of the wheels coming off because we're dealing with grief and panic and insecurities, all at once. Your thoughts on this, and welcome back.
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy time, and I have had a lot of people call me. Sometimes I'm the first phone call, and I appreciate that people sort of think of me as someone who could give them some guidance. But probably really some of the very first things that you should do, and what I would tell you if you called me first person, was, it's going to take a couple of weeks, but you do need to get a death certificate. That time frame of a few weeks has been delayed with COVID and these types of things, but when we return completely back to normal, it should go back to about a 2-week period. You need to kind of make memorial and funeral plans, and the hope is that perhaps a person wrote down or told you what they wanted, but if not, you're going to be making those decisions, and those two things need to happen really fast. And the next thing of importance, I don't think it should be first, but it is high importance, is just making sure to try to start to get kind of an inventory of what are the things that this person owned, especially if there's even the slightest potential for fighting later on over assets. If you don't basically secure the assets and make sure you know what they are and where they are, I have seen lots and lots of things completely disappear. In fact, just had a client last week. They hired me, said, "Hey, Dad died, and they won't let us in his apartment. What do we do?" And literally 4 days later, I got everything together we needed to get access, and they said, "Oh no, ex-wife showed up and apparently was the person named as the contact with the apartment. She took everything. This is the ex-wife, and I don't know why she was listed as the person." So try to take inventory of those assets because now we're having to chase those down. Of course, you're also going to want to locate the estate planning documents, and this would be a will, perhaps trust, that type of thing. If you don't have it, you need to kind of think about who does have it, and that will become important for your attorney later. And then I would say the last thing is, then you want to contact an attorney to help you with the legal process. But if you can get those first few things together, the securing of the assets and finding the estate documents, after you've taken care of, memorial, funeral, and death certificate, you'd be right on track.
So once a person contacts you, what do you do? How do you start the process, and what do you do after you've been contacted?
Well, so this list that we kind of went through now, this is the short version. I've got a long checklist of things that I'm going to go through to see what assets did a person have, what organizations were they affiliated with, who is the family. So I've got my very long checklist, a couple pages long, in fact, where I'll go through and help to organize, all of these types of things. But there are some things that you're going to be doing, whether you call me and I tell you to do it, use your first 3 steps, or whether you're taking care of those initially and then contacting me. And that's where things like a death certificate, memorial, funeral plans, those things have to happen very quickly. So you don't necessarily have to call your attorney first. But if you do, I'll start tracking everything on this checklist. And once you finish those initial items we just discussed, then I'll pick up and help with all the detail that we're going to need to go through this process.
People can call you ahead of time and do this, and this is one of the things we've talked about through our time together on Consumer Team, Justin, the fact that if you can get somebody like you on my team before I pass away or before a loved one passes away, you certainly save time and money, and then also the stress of having to do this when you're, just devastated because of a loss. Advantages, Justin, to getting you hired ahead of time versus after a death?
Yeah, if you will hire me or hire someone that you trust who works in this area every day, I help people every single day make things extremely easy for those that would survive them. I just told you a short little story about a person who had passed away, clearly hadn't done any estate planning or even really considerations of death. An ex-wife, for some reason, was still listed on the apartment as the emergency contact. They let her in. She took everything. Where is she? Right. If he had planned in advance, we not only would have checked to make sure that things like his emergency contact were correct, but we would have made sure that he had documents in place that would have made it clear who had access to all of his assets. There are also bank accounts and some other things that were frozen in this particular case. But really, that's a big part of my job in pre-planning, is making sure that those who survive you don't have that. I think of it as a scavenger hunt, frankly. What did the person have? Where is it? Who's supposed to do what? It's just you're running around hoping you can figure it out. When you plan in advance, you avoid all of that for those that survive you. And you'll have a very detailed list of documents and instructions so that those who survive you will know exactly what to do. And it'll be very easy for them to do it.
Well, good information, Justin, especially hearing, the nightmare scenario of the ex-wife coming in and taking her ex-husband's belongings. You definitely want to avoid that scenario. Justin Crain, amazing team at Crain and Woolley. I'm getting my will and my estate plan put together right now with their help. And I want to invite you to get this done as well. Free initial consultation with Crain and Woolley. Get to know the team. Love this firm, and you will too. And you'll sleep better at night knowing that when you're gone, when you're no longer here, people that you love that depend on you will be taken care of. Here's the number at Crain and Woolley, 972-560-6288. 972-560-6288. crainwoolley.law. That's crainwoolley.law.